I'm Rolene Marks, and before we head out to the weekend, let's take a look at those top stories making headlines here in Israel. And you guys know we do this every Monday to Thursday. So dominating the news for now the fourth week in a row is a day dedicated to protests. Now, they started off with a day of protest, moving to a day of resistance, and today we have a day of paralysis. Some 500,000 Israelis are expected to take to the streets at different centers around the country today to protest the proposed judicial overhaul. Now, protests have been largely peaceful, some minor scuffles breaking out in Tel Aviv as some protesters made their way towards the highway. Police did open water cannons, which some are seeing as excessive. But for the most part, everything has been peaceful. Police also deployed water cannons in Haifa. The reason for that is yet to be determined. Meanwhile, one woman was arrested earlier today for trying to smack MK Avi Dichter with a flag. A group of bereaved families joined the protests, saying that this is not what their sons fought and died for. Meanwhile, earlier today, in a vote of 61 to 47, a law in the Knesset passed that would prevent the High Court from either asking the Prime Minister to withdraw himself or recuse himself from anything where there is a conflict of interest. Critics of this see this as the latest step by the Prime Minister to try and block the Supreme Court for asking him to recuse himself because of his legal woes as being a Prime Minister. Speaking of the Prime Minister, he met earlier this week with senior government officials from the United Arab Emirates. The senior officials were dispatched to speak to the Prime Minister and warn that the actions of the government are potentially going to cause a lot of friction between the two countries. Now, these government officials have said that the way that the government has been behaving, and particularly very, very inflammatory comments made by Bezalel Smotrich, who is not just the finance minister, but also holds a high position in the defense ministry with regards to the disputed areas in Judea and Samaria, have really raised the ire of Israel's allies. Smotrich was addressing a group in France earlier this week, and he stood in front of a map showing Transjordan, an area that was under British mandate, as being part of Greater Israel. Now, Jordan said that this is in violation of their peace treaty with Israel, and that they take huge exception to his comments, saying that the Palestinian people are a figment of the imagination. Yesterday, Jordan's parliament voted to expel Israel's ambassador from the capital, Amman. Meanwhile, the yet-to-be-named senior officials in the Emirati government have said that the comments and some of the behaviors of members of the current government are also in violation of the Abraham Accords and could seriously impair them. Now, this follows a report in a Saudi paper yesterday that says that both Jordan and the United Emirates are both considering reducing their diplomatic presence in Israel. Speaking of the Prime Minister again, it has been announced that the Prime Minister will make a visit to the United Kingdom. He departs later tonight. He is expected to meet with British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak. The two are expected to speak about forming an international alliance against Iran, as well as strengthening strategic ties between the two countries. He will also meet with Home Secretary Suella Braverman and talk about the threat that terrorism poses to both countries. And finally, for some good news, especially for those suffering with pancreatic cancer, scientists in Israel are believed to have made a breakthrough in the studies of how to treat the diagnosis of pancreatic cancer, which is one of the most dangerous in the world. It is believed that their experiments on mice found that they had discovered a way to block cells from metastasizing, therefore reducing the metastases of pancreatic cancer and increasing the ability to treat it. We certainly hope that this goes a long way to helping to find a cure for this deadly form of cancer. So many people that we know and love have been lost as a result of this extremely deadly form. And that brings us to the end of today's edition of the Israel Brief. Please don't forget to check out our website. And hey, if you're looking for something to read this weekend, we've got you covered. And you can find us at www.layoftheland.online. Our Facebook page is at Lottel Site. You guys know what to do. Like us, follow us, share our content. Our YouTube channel is at the Israel Brief. Please consider helping us to grow our community by clicking on that red subscribe button, liking us, following us, and sharing our content. And we're on Twitter at LayOfTheLand5. And with that, and with a slightly croaky voice, I wish you all a wonderful, a restful, and a peaceful weekend. Shabbat Shalom, and don't forget to check in with us again next Monday to Thursday for your top stories.